So we'll begin with the formalities. Today is Wednesday, January 22nd, 2020. The time is 11:04 a.m. And we have a special meeting, which is also including our independent contractor from Buildings and Grounds, which is Shawn Riley. And the time is precisely 11:05 a.m. And we're meeting to discuss with Julienne Dance, Brittany Rotel, and we have a guest from Sandpoint, and your name is?
Karin Wedemeyer.
Karin? K-A-R-I-N?
Correct.
Okay, welcome. And so also attending are Commissioners Duncan, Brooks, and Fillios, and it's a discussion item, and I guess we can call it a proposal that has been assembled by Ms. Julienne Dance regarding the use of the Romer building as a music conservatory, which we have none so far in Coeur d'Alene. And so without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to you. Go right ahead.
Wonderful. Well, we're really grateful to be here. Thank you so much for listening to us, first of all. And I have lived here about 7 years. I've kind of put my foot into the music world. I was on the board of the symphony. I worked with NIC in trying to develop a festival there, and then I worked with Coeur d'Alene Symphony Conductor in promoting some concerts, and we did a wonderful classical concert at the Presbyterian Church last August. I'm a music teacher myself. I teach piano lessons at my house, and I work with choirs and children in my church. So actually, my whole life, my hand has been into it. I laid underneath the piano while my dad played his sax. So anyway, it's been exciting to think that we can expand here with music education is my hugest deal. Like, I feel like if we have a core, like an incubator that is developing the talent, which we obviously have in the city, we have so much talent, if we organize that, then we can take it to different levels. And we can do that by also integrating, collaborating with other talent areas in our North Idaho area with Spokane and with Sandpoint. So that's why we're here. There's the magic of a school. There's the magic of, oh, that's where they learn music. And one day I was driving down Government Way, and actually, prior to that, I read on the front page of the newspaper about the Romer building, and I thought, instantly hit me, they don't have a purpose for this building, let's make it a music conservatory. So then I drove down, I got a hold of,
Shawn?
were we the ones that were together?
I don't recall that. But
Okay, well, I
Was it Greg?
It might have been.
It was Greg.
It was Greg.
Oh, yeah.
I recognize Greg. And it gave me a tour of the building, and I thought, well, we could put music studios here, we can have a recital hall here, we've got a place for early childhood. It's not very big, it doesn't compare at all with what Sandpoint's got going, but it could be a great beginning, and who knows, we can expand with that as the headquarters. So I'm looking into the future and what it can really look like. So what does the infrastructure look like? The next item, number 2 on the agenda, we would love to see, first of all, early childhood. I have a teacher right now that would love to teach infant, 18 months, I've been exploring with teachers. Along with that, we want to orient students, children, to different types of instruments, mostly piano and strings to begin with. We've got the facility for winds here in this community, really lovely facility. I know a great clarinet player. And then we can do a lot of ensemble work, where when you have a building like that and you have studios working, then they collaborate with each other, and then they start playing music together. And it can develop into small orchestras. We would love to collaborate with the schools and their orchestras. And then we can also do master classes, bring really good teachers in to teach other teachers. We can do special programs with handicapped students. Anyway, there's no end to what we could do. I'd love to see a children's choir come right out of there. That would just be exciting. So there's the ambience of a restored building. and an older building. I think that when you have an older building that's been through the ages, it's been through the times, you know, that has the tradition of what's happened before, then you think, wow, okay, we can bring the traditions, the real quality, the upscale, something that's come through time into a music conservatory. And music is a perfect, you know, venue for that. So I love the idea of a restored building. There's not much that really has to be done to the inside of the building, but there are things that we could do to the outside of the building to get going. I would love to limb up those big trees and give us a whole bunch more space on the lawn, do outdoor concerts. We have room for studios. When you walk right into it, you have room probably to seat 70+ people for a recital, have in-house recitals, and it would be great to change the fascia of the front of the building.
When you say the interior, I think it depends who you talk to, but.
Okay.
I haven't had any bids.
Okay, and Shawn is gonna share with you the property condition report, Julienne, that you had asked for. Maybe you ought to take over on that when it comes to the interior.
I know you've been in there, correct? So, I actually, instead of starting at the top floor, start at the bottom floor. The basement is non-usable.
Yeah.
It's not functioning, there's only one way out, so you would have to add another form of egress in order to take advantage of that space that's down there, because the fire marshal won't allow you to have.
How much space is down there, Shawn?
Square foot of the building.
Which is the footprint of the building?
I'm gonna say there's probably 1,300 square
Okay.
feet down there.
So good size, yeah.
So it's a third of the building, and it's the open third of the building that, okay. And I'll send you the property inspection report. Some of the electrical has been redone, some of the electrical has not been redone. So in one place you have a fairly new box, and then you have the knob and wire stuff on the other side, which is a fire hazard. The property inspection report found that there was some mold present. We never went that far to identify what type and mitigate it.
Right.
It needs a new roof. And then the other issue that you're gonna have is when you pull, if you were to take the building and you pull a permit to start to work on it, at that point, the city's gonna come in and they're gonna bring everybody to the table to review the plans. That's what your plan check fee is for.
Sure.
The ADA is gonna have to be compliant. They're gonna want a new cross connection on the water. We're finding that no matter what we do, that one rears its head every single time, so you have to put a new backfill device. Then the fire marshal's gonna come in, he's gonna look and see what the building needs. It's not sprinklered right now. And I just wrote a note, if you're looking at 70+ people, that's probably gonna be something that they're gonna want.
Right.
So, you know, my best guesstimate, 2.5 years ago, Chris, was $200,000 to renovate to code.
Right.
And then with the climate being what it is now, it could be, and I'm not trying to talk you out of it.
Right, right.
No.
This is
Talking
just-
reality, yeah.
These are just the facts of the
Right.
building that need to be.
Right, and so when
to
you
be
look at
looked
the stairwell, or if the city comes in, are they going to want to like put it all into code?
Right.
Yeah, they're gonna
Current
ask
code.
for, everything has to come up to code,
Current.
and that, a lot of it is spelled out in the property inspection report that I'll send to you, and you can, you know, Chris has asked me to send it to you, but yeah, things like the stairs, anything that's non-conforming, you know, you either.
Apply for an exemption or get it.
Yeah, you can get an exception, you know, like I don't see them requiring an elevator, I don't
Right.
see that happening, because.
But the railings probably need to be updated, you know.
Yeah,
or
and
supported, yeah.
the step, the width of the step, the height of the step all has to be into code, the handrail has to
Right.
be at the right height all the way up and anchored in the right places, I mean, that's just one of them.
And even having said all of this, which might sound monumental,
Yeah.
I can tell you, and I think Leslie can certainly verify that, the last thing the city wants to see is for this building to get demolished.
Right.
So whatever needs to be done, I think we can safely say that you're gonna get a tremendous amount of cooperation from the city. However, to Shawn's point, there are things that frankly cannot be compromised.
Right,
Mhm.
for health and safety and for
Exactly,
the use of the
exactly.
building
And,
especially.
and I would what you're talking about is amazing, wonderful, great addition to the community, to the larger community, like it says in your presentation, Sandpoint, Spokane, the whole area. And I would sell you that building for, in my opinion, exactly what we paid for it and say, good luck.
Right.
That'd be cool.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
But,
The county can't fix it,
Right,
Right.
you know, if it were Bill's building and I were very rich, I'd say, I'll fix it for you and hand it to you.
right.
Yeah.
You can't do that. But
Mhm.
I don't think we need to make a profit on this one,
Right.
Mhm.
but I wish we never owned it.
well,
Right.
and again, we bought it for a different purpose, but I think where Julienne's coming from, is, and you please correct me if I'm wrong, is that you would take care of the renovations and lease the building at a nominal rate. I think you indicated $500 a month. The benefit to the county is obviously we're providing this facility as an asset, truly an asset to the community.
Right.
And if, in Julienne's plans, truly blossom, and it turns out that they outgrow the building, good for them, wonderful. And we now have a structure that is worth more than what we paid for it. So potentially, it's a win-win. Am I stating it correctly?
You are stating it right. That would be a
Right.
great advantage for you. And the only thing I can think of, like down the road, like, okay, this music conservatory has such a place. They deserve to own it. Do you know what I mean? Because
That's true too.
I
Yeah.
mean, because it could be, I mean, the ownership might just say, okay, it's the
Make an
conservatory.
arrangement that can be fair, you know, to both the county
To both
and
the
its
county.
investment and to your constituents. We
Well,
understand, you know.
Legally, we're
yeah.
bound by market value.
Right, yeah.
And
And if I may just say
Yeah.
something, it's, we find that a project like this actually draws capital in.
Mhm.
Right.
Yes.
And in a pretty significant way, that can, this is really an extraordinary opportunity to create something that involves the community in a very positive way. And I assure you, and I will speak when, in my turn to the feasibility and share with you some of our experience. But it is quite interesting of the people that can come and be engaged. And that funding, this is actually small scale funding, probably, I don't actually see a problem whatsoever just because of the nature of the project.
Leslie, when you said market value, does that also include rent? We would have to rent the place, lease the place at market value?
I think it does. I think I've heard
That's a
we
legal
could get
question.
legal to
Yeah.
do it, but I think there was some statute
I
that.
think so.
Except if they're
Rent.
doing the renovations, that may be something that
Right.
factors in, so.
Right.
it's-
Yeah.
Yeah, we,
Yeah.
that's, it's
Because
a legal.
as you described, in the condition that it is, it's not even all rentable space that we can
Yeah.
even, you know,
I don't
count
think
on
we can
in
get
terms of
$500 a month
Right.
rental right
Yes.
now.
Right.
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 And you know, you can use the basement.
Right.
You just have to have another form of egress out.
Right.
We have the same problem with this building over here,
right,
where the public defender used to be. There's a one way in and one way out of that basement.
Mhm.
The fire marshal threatened to shut it down.
Right.
But it is non-conforming, so
Yes.
you could cut, like so many people have done, you just cut a hole in the slab and you make a stairwell out.
right, yeah.
You know, then you can use it all. Then, you know, it's, you've been in it, it's a little chopped up here and there,
Oh, the
especially in the
basement
upstairs.
isn't usable right now. I mean, but it's great space.
Yes,
I'm encouraged by the amount of space that's in the basement.
right,
So I think it would be great to use the basement at some point.
right.
So Karin, do you wanna, can you speak to the fundraising?
Sure, and also maybe to the feasibility. If I may just take a second to brief
Absolutely.
you a moment of how we started.
Yes,
And
please.
just because I think our journey is a really important element in your understanding what this is about, also to address feasibility. So our school is now 10 years old. I'm the executive director and co-founder. We started, it's kind of a garage story. We started with 8 students, 2 instructors, in the back studio of a dance studio, and we are now teaching 400 students. And I want you just to pause at that number for a second, because the Sandpoint community is 8,600 inhabitants, but we also have draw regionally, of course. We have 18 instructors, or 19 actually. We have administrators, registrar. We are fully accredited by WASC, which is a very unique accreditation and very difficult to obtain. So it took us 3 years to prepare for that.
What did you call that again?
WASC, Western Associations of Schools and Colleges.
Oh, okay.
They are looking over our shoulders to make sure that we do what we say we do. So we have another entity. So we have submitted our curriculum and everything. So, but it's not how we started, right? And I think it's really important to embrace the process, to grow something of significance, that is a process involved and it's not an overnight process. So that I think is really important to state. Obviously, our financial needs have changed. We acquired our building last year. We're in a historic building, and we're in the downtown area of Sandpoint. And I would say it's the significant historic building in Sandpoint. It has a huge impact, it radiates around throughout downtown just because we are bringing hundreds of people into the downtown area every week. So these people they go shopping while their child is in lessons. So it's a measurable impact. We work with the school district together. We help them write grants. They help us write grants. Actually, some of the funding, we have 50% earned income, and we have 50% coming through donor-advised fundraising and grant writing. We have a grant writing team. We have a development team because we are working with the Murdoch Foundation, which I recommend and very much because they love to see these initiatives and then support that. So I will also want to say we started the school the day after the financial collapse. And who would have ever thought, right? Yet there was a void and a need that was so big that no matter what happened around us as such, we now are from 8 students to 400. 200 of them are private students. We have an after-school fine arts initiative that's Music Matters. That is an Elsa Stemmer-based program that has over 120 students. Then we have a theater department, and we have an early childhood department, or Little Mozarts. That's a grant-supported program. So, and again, it took years to build this. Also, it took years for the community to trust us and to understand, we are an institute of integrity. We mean quality, we mean business, and that is slowly but surely we grew and funding came in, and when we have fundraisers, the people that are now coming and trusting us grow steadily. So, but again, it's not an overnight process. We are going to go through renovations, so for the next 3 years, phase 1, 2, and 3, we're going to be working with tax credits. Some of that might be familiar to you. And we'll see where we land, right? Our journey is not over. We have, however, have reached a big milestone. Spokane has taken notice of us, and they are also interested in building a conservatory because they understand that as an incubator for talent secures the future of their efforts building orchestras. And so they are looking at our programming because we have spent a lot of time in actually research and development of what we call Music Matters Symphony, which is from age 2 to 19, but also involves adults. And they found that so intriguing that they are actually looking to see how they can implement that. And they're going to be going through the same process you are. They're probably going to look for a historic building and to see how they can build a conservatory from the ground up. Now we have a couple of incubators. Now the key aspect is for us to talk to each other, right? Because collaboration actually works better than competition in our particular cause. I actually think altogether, but that's a different topic. We are collaborating with anybody that we can put our hands on.
Yeah.
Because children, one of the life skills that we're teaching is coming together and collaborating. And that's a huge life skill, underrated, sadly. Music is a beautiful way to teach that. But we're also teaching a level of skills from day one on. So if they follow through, we have quite a few graduates right now, they're going places. But also talent is in different places. It's in places where sometimes we do not look. Actually, some of the greatest talents is in a rural area that has not had enough exposure, and where kids just have accepted who they are and they just don't have those opportunities, and we rally around them and bring them in. And it's completely astounding. That is actually a beautiful cause, and we find quite a few people who agree to that and then help with the funding. I actually think, we've been wanting to build a cultural triangle now for some time, and right now we have a leg, in Spokane, and we've been thinking, well, what could happen in Coeur d'Alene? You have all of these resources, but why do you not have a conservatory-like institute? You have an orchestra, there's kind of little things happening here and there, but you have talent, yet it does need somebody to organize it. We would love to be a prototype, since we can speak from experience of how to work it from day one on. We'd love to share our programs and to share our resources. I will also want to say we have a music therapist on board. She's about to get her master's and get board certified. Music therapy is a profession highly recognized in Europe. I'm German. And we work with music therapists all the time, and with memory loss, Asperger, Alzheimer, autism. They work in just so many fields, hospice, in prisons, just endless amount, right? Our music therapist, the word's getting out, she's getting quite busy. One of our instructors is adding a degree in music therapy right now. He's going to be ready next year. I'm going to point him Julienne's way. Because they can actually make an impact, because their services add something genuinely new to what people are looking for when they say we don't really want to look into medication, we want to look into something different. We want alternative kind of treatments to see that are more gentle. Also after the opioid crisis, we know that we really need to address certain issues we have in a very different kind of new way. So there's room for innovation even in a place like the Conservatory. It does so much more, right?
There's so much more. I have a niece who's a music therapist. I've seen the miracles there. And then this wonderful concert pianist that's come into our area from Romania, he went into the prisons and taught piano. And there was a band that actually formed from his music instruction in the prison. And when they got out of prison, they had like this job. They were touring the city the country, doing concerts. And so anyway, that's a side note, but it's so wonderful what can happen.
Yeah, the impact, and very clearly, I think there's absolutely a need. I think I can speak to that for sure. I think that a historic building adds to the ambiance and to, because we're combining old knowledge with new knowledge, right? And a historic building actually supports that concept. We have 14,000 square feet in our building. We occupy every inch. We have one tenant, that's the Ponderay Arts Council with visual arts, which now the whole building begins to transition into a center for arts and culture, which actually, again, has a measurable impact on the downtown area of Sandpoint. And if you were to speak to Shelby Ronstadt, our mayor, or even our commissioners, I think they will, without doubt, support that and say that.
I want to correct one important thing here. To my knowledge, this is not a historic building. The Romer building is an old building.
It's an old building.
Okay,
Doesn't
well,
have the.
a lot of people
craftsman,
think those terms are interchangeable. They are not.
Yeah, it has not been given the designation as a historic
That is
building and been on the
correct. That
registry.
is correct.
Correct, yeah.
You're correct, yeah.
So,
It's eligible from
But
what
it-
our historic
Right.
preservation
Mhm.
commission tells us.
yes.
We
But-
found, pardon me, we
No,
found
right
that
on.
a lot of people in our community have a deep bond with our particular building. And they rally around that, and they want this building to transition into the future without losing its architectural integrity.
In character, yeah.
And that's really important, and I would be very surprised if you wouldn't find that kind of support in your community just the same, who will feel, wow, this is a treasure, this is a jewel, and yes, this would be wonderful to take it into the future by giving it this purpose.
So can I ask some practical questions? Parking, so what is the volume before 5 PM during the week and after 5 PM and on weekends?
I did think this through because I just thought, okay, I've driven over there and I've driven through the parking lots. Of course, it's a challenge right now for all the snowbanks, but yeah, I did try and put numbers of cars that I thought would be.
Thank you. Got it? Okay, great. We're
I
fine.
have more.
Thank you.
Tina gets one.
I think we're good.
Interesting, okay.
Yeah, I thought like, okay, I put time factors in here. This is one of the biggest ones with the early childhood classes because the parents are coming to class with their children. So 9:30 to 11, maybe on 2 days a week we have 15 cars. And then early, what Karin calls the music matters, which we'd like to follow the prototype. But I was thinking 6 cars, maybe in the morning, 9 to 12 cars from 3 to 6. That would be most every day, we hope. Of course, this is gonna start slow. This isn't immediate. With the orchestral or just the ensemble programs, 6 to 8 cars.
For like after school, right?
Yeah, or even evenings, 6 o'clock on. If you look at the handicap music exploration, or choir, the senior choir, I think a lot of that, the handicap choir or the senior choir would be after hours, 15 cars. Maybe the early exploration would be during work hours. And then the master classes would be like once a month. Recitals would be on the weekends, Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday nights. Maybe 50 cars, maybe not, maybe 20 cars. So I think the impact is there, but it's not like the hundreds that I just saw in the parking lot. There's nothing there in the parking lot, but maybe we could accommodate some of this on the street.
Well, you have to, from 8 to 5, Monday through
Yeah,
Friday,
yeah.
because right now, I think we have, 180 jurors here.
That's the other
Yeah.
thing.
Plus a big
Yep.
meeting downstairs.
Right.
Yeah, so.
And
it's-
Karin brought
So,
something to my attention on this.
so this is our building, I'm just gonna share this with you, because we don't have parking. So, we draw from the downtown parking, but there really for us isn't such a huge need, because generally parents do drop off their children, or they walk over, or they come over, through our spot bus, they walk after school. But parking really hasn't been an issue. For the morning, for the little Mozart class, perhaps because that's a parent participatory class. But in the afternoon, I would say our impact on parking is actually rather small. Because most of the kids are between, I would say, 12 and 16, and they're self-sufficient, and some of them ride their bicycles, or they get dropped off and get picked up. But it hasn't, because it was for us, it says, wow, if we buy this building, but then we look at, we've been in this building for 9 years, and it hasn't stopped us.
Right.
So,
I also think that it's nice that this building is in a neighborhood, even though Government Way has become quite busy, but you have sidewalks. And so if you are dropping, and I drove around to get this morning, there is the little garage in the back, but there's the handicapped entrance ramp, and you could even drop off there and the kids could come up the ramp. So there's probably ways to get by, to keep classes going without having to park and walk. You can probably drop off because of the ramp, because of the sidewalks, because of the street parking. Parents really want to be there, they can walk a couple blocks if they have to. But anyway, I'm getting a better visual.
And the largest load in terms of the performances that would require more, we're gonna be after hours, where obviously this facility is
Yep.
gonna be empty. And so,
Yeah.
we're not as concerned about, being in anyone's way or upsetting the neighborhood. You know, we definitely wanna be a good steward, a good partner, a good neighbor, for those people who, this building has, rallied to their cause and has become really important to them, so.
Interesting.
Uh,
Yeah, and actually, if, as we move along here, potentially, we're gonna want to involve the city.
Oh, yeah.
You know, even early on, better sooner than later.
They're excited.
Oh, you've already taken it up with,
I presented to them before I came here.
oh, and they told you to come here, that's right.
Yes.
Who did you present to, the city council?
To Troy Tennyson and Amy Evans.
Okay, so he's the town manager, and Amy's a councilwoman, okay.
I would
All
suggest
right.
probably if you're gonna get too much further down the road, a meeting like we had with Hillary,
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right.
get
Oh, yes, I
Hillary.
have talked to Hillary, not in a meeting. but-
Right. Yeah,
That would be interesting. So what I'm trying to think ahead here. So Shawn needs to get to you the property condition report. There are legalities here too, and Brittany, I know you're a lawyer, but you're not so much into our county law, right?
No, I mean, I don't practice local law, but yeah, I am a licensed, attorney, so.
In terms of what we can and can't do, you know, what kind of restrictions, if any, are we facing? You're probably, Julienne, you're probably gonna want a contractor to go through and come up with some estimates.
We've
Shawn,
got
help
some
me out
real
here.
numbers to look at.
Well, there's a lot of different things that, I think the first thing to do would, have a discussion with the city
Yes,
and find out if there's leeway. There are
Right.
some things that there's no leeway on.
Right,
There's no leeway on
non-negotiables.
ADA, there's no
Precisely.
Yeah.
leeway, on the water, the sewer.
Right,
And keep in mind, we did not do an inspection on the sewer line because
Mhm.
the city is gonna say, that's your problem
right.
until it gets to the street. And then, get a contractor in there, like Chris said, get some idea of where you're at and if you wanna move forward. And then it would go into legal for who's gonna carry the insurance? Because a
Right.
lot of buildings catch fire when they're being remodeled and
Right.
constructed.
Right.
Triple net lease, no triple net lease, I mean, all those kinds of things would start to roll in there, but, I think you need to, for me, if I were doing it, I would be looking at what are the requirements that they can't waive? And then I'm gonna get a contractor in there, I might have somebody, because there's 3,000 different kinds of mold. It
Right.
doesn't, they're not all,
It's not all
make you
Hurricane
sick.
Katrina, right,
Right,
yeah.
they're not all Hurricane
Some
Katrina.
of it just needs to be scraped
So
and
it could
repainted.
just be
Yeah.
Clorox and,
Right.
or it
Yeah.
could need mitigation.
Mhm.
And then, you could, through your contractor, do some other, if you're really serious about it, and we did not do this, but you could do some exploring to see if there's asbestos in the building. It's an older building, who knows how many layers of floors they put in there, stuff like that. And I could, if the board is, decides and gives direction, I can help you walk down that road with your
Right.
contractor. It's the county buildings, but that's up to them. They-
Shawn and Greg can help you, absolutely.
Yeah, and Chris has a huge real estate background, but yeah, I'll get you the property report and you can read that.
And go from there.
Yeah.
Okay.
And in the meantime, we'll consult with our legal too, just so that we don't get too far down the road and discover, I don't think we're gonna have any snags, but whatever constraints there are, let's identify them up
So
front.
at least know.
Yeah, so that at least we know. So I guess, and I think Shawn's kind of alluding to this, is having these parallel efforts. So you're looking at the property inspection report, potentially getting a contractor in there. We could be checking out the legal, we could proceed to set up a meeting with the city and yourselves. Karin, you're always invited. In fact, it'd be great if you can attend as many as you
Certainly.
could. Thank
My
you, because
pleasure.
your knowledge is invaluable. And try to keep all the, is it the right word, stakeholders involved early on so that the process is a smooth one. I guess the question that I would have, and I don't know that you can even answer this, fundraising, what are you thinking?
Well, we're hoping for donors and sponsors. we haven't thought about an event yet. I've done an event before myself. But I guess we need to know what's on the table, you know, and
Well,
Go ahead, Karin.
I will find that musicians are wonderful fundraisers in as far as that we have the music as an asset and the students. So creating an event, I think you need to look at publicity, how to get the publicity out, what kind of marketing as far as what message should the community know. I think it's really very important, the mission statement of the school, and then to go out, how is it presented, and then to whom it gets presented to have, to set up a fundraiser. So,
We have about 300 signatures, people who want
Yeah,
that.
that's true.
Yeah.
Who want to save the building?
Who want to see that building, so
Yeah.
perhaps they could help
Yeah,
flyers
we could
and direct
start-
cars
I
and
had a
And
make
write
some t-shirts
checks.
and write checks, even more
Yes.
important, exactly, Bill.
Yeah.
And so that with a combination of then looking at how can we maybe look at some donor advised funds, how can we make sure that we're starting the
Okay.
grant writing process?
Yeah.
And hopefully parallel and use those efforts with Sandpoint. I don't think there's any reason why we need to reinvent the wheel here.
Absolutely,
So
absolutely.
we're looking to how can we pool resources and not be putting additional administrative burdens on, because the nonprofit world, it takes work, you know, for people to,
Absolutely.
for all of that to move forward. So I don't think we're naive that that's not, that doesn't take a lot of effort, but that we have already a lot of heart and support for this idea, and how can we continue to support the arts here in Coeur d'Alene, and, you know, see some of those economic benefits that we believe in terms of the expenditures that come with the arts, but to make that more localized here,
you have the Travolta family in Coeur d'Alene.
right?
You have,
Ellen's a wonderful supporter,
Yeah.
yeah.
you know, and there are funds for startups as such,
Mhm.
or something like this. I actually don't think that you will have a problem. I actually think that you just need to ask. You haven't asked yet. But I
You
don't think
might
that would
also
be good.
contact Innovation Collective, Nick Smoot. Even though his bent is technology, I think anything that boosts the attractiveness of the area and contributes to the overall development, if you will, cultural even, would help, and I can talk to him as well. Now, the other thing is we annually do a State of the County message. The city just did theirs, Mayor Wedemeyer did his last week. And so we are scheduled to do ours, I think it's within the next 2 to 3 months. If we can make some progress in that time frame, at least enough to know if it's a go or no go, that would be a great place to announce it, because it'll be a lunch, it'll probably be attended by at least 300 people.
wow.
Okay.
So
That's
it would be a
fantastic.
nice
Yeah.
potential kickoff.
Right. And for, you know, just to have a real project that the county is choosing to move forward for, if you
Mhm.
guys choose to move forward with, that really supports one of your
Yeah.
core visions and one of your key performance indicators. I know that you guys are, you know, continually looking to increase that
Precisely.
household median income here in Coeur d'Alene. And there's really good data that supports an investment in the arts helps, whether people, it's
Which
date
you
night
included.
and babysitter money and coming downtown and going to dinner, and people coming here for larger events, you know, people who are tourists who maybe come to Coeur d'Alene and they extend their visit and they spend a little bit more and they make it more of a real destination. And, you know, that's a really important part still of Coeur d'Alene's economy, and I think this is a really smart way to do it that, that makes everyone happy and makes it, you know, akin to our vision with how we'd like to see Coeur d'Alene grow in the right way.
Sure. Do you think we can make significant progress in 4 weeks? Just kind of really get a, maybe, you know, okay, 90% sure this is gonna go forward, or
Mhm.
some kind of
Yeah.
thing?
Do you want, so we have your, we have
If you guys are in,
your
then
blessing.
We're
I-
willing to listen to proposals.
Yeah.
I think that it sounds good, you know, we've gotta check with legal.
Mhm.
So there's just a lot of moving parts, and I think you guys
Yeah.
starting with city planning
Mhm.
and getting that.
That floor of what is it, you know, what's our floor that needs to be fixed in
Yeah.
that building, and knowing what that number is,
Yeah.
and kind of wrapping
Yeah, I
around
think,
that. Yeah.
right, when we start getting some figures, and then we know what our obstacles are, because just, I think knowing what our obstacles are helps us know what we really have to do. Putting a time frame on it like this is good, because then we say, okay, we got this much done,
Mhm.
a certain amount of time, and then see where we're going.
I would
But
say
it's worth exploring.
this is not an open-ended. We do have to move forward with what we do with the Roma building.
Right.
And I think we came up with a, end of March
Yeah.
deadline.
So that's why I kind of want to say, end of February, I want to know if this is a good project or not, because
see.
in my mind, it's going up for sale in April or
Mhm.
whenever that magic real estate number is. Because it's just not something the county can hold on to,
Yeah.
Indefinitely.
So
So-
please
yeah.
move forward
I've
with
tried to
haste.
move faster than
Yes.
this. I've been calling for like months, trying to figure out who do I talk to.
Okay,
that
so
will
what
make
we'll do
Yeah.
is just to lay out some initial groundwork. Okay, so Shawn's gonna provide you with the property condition report. You have it online, Shawn?
Yeah.
this- Do you wanna,
Here.
Needs to hit send.
Okay, so
do
you'll
you
send,
send it to us by email?
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
Yeah.
So
I'll just
you're
get
gonna-
your email address after the.
you're gonna wanna take that. Now, this is where it gets, okay, so when we talk about contractors, because this is a government building and a county building, Shawn, they need the certification, is that correct?
That's a question
Yeah, does
for
it need to be
legal,
a
I mean,
GC?
Yeah, because if we're doing
because it's a
triple
county
net.
building, I would think that they have to have a state public works license.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Shawn is probably gonna provide you with, what, 2 or 3 names? Are we looking at competitive bid now again?
Well-
What are we,
But it's not us.
It's not us, and we're not paying for the renovation, so the statutes would
Bingo.
not apply.
I just wanna make sure.
Again, I would wanna just verify that with legal.
With
being
legal.
It's our building, but we're not the one paying for it.
See,
so
if
we're
you're
not
doing the
ones soliciting.
renovation,
You guys
you're-
are signing the checks.
Correct.
Yeah.
No,
Precisely.
we're not soliciting the
Yeah.
bids.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're not subject to the same constraints that we are, because
Right.
if it's over, what is it, 50,000?
Yeah.
Where we have to go out for, what, 3 bids?
Mhm.
You're
In the
not subject to
process.
that. Now, you're probably gonna wanna get competitive bids anyway, just so that you know what you're looking at, and potentially getting the best price, so you wanna start, and Shawn, you can help Julienne with that? By
Yeah.
recommending potential contractors?
Right.
I was just gonna ask if we could move it to like later in the week, the first week of March, cause I'm not gonna be here the last week of February.
Yeah,
To
that's
move
not a
what?
problem. Then,
A meeting, so instead of 4 weeks, 5, if we could do it somewhere.
Oh, I
around-
see what you're saying.
Yeah, because somewhere around the 4th or 5th, of
Okay.
March would be, I'm not gonna be here,
that's fine.
In February.
just that last week.
I'll
Just
put
move
March
the
4th.
deadline to the 4th or 5th.
Right, that we're saying that
Yeah.
someone needs to be in the building and we need to have at least some numbers to know
Yeah,
whether
there
we're
you
moving
go.
forward
That
or
doesn't
not.
mean we can't have meetings before then.
No,
We can
could
still meet.
Just that 1 week.
But I
I'm
think
not here.
what we're shooting at is this a fair statement for a potential go, no-go? Is that what
Yes.
we're looking at, folks, so that we're all in
Yes.
agreement?
I'm going to be gone the 3rd week of February, so.
And that gives you a little more time, because the contractors are pretty, right now, they're doing bids, it's a good time to get with them, but,
Right.
you're looking at a couple weeks, the guys that I'm thinking of, that,
In terms of openings in their calendar, yeah.
yeah, and to try to get in there, just take a quick look at it and just give you some idea, and then most likely, you're gonna need an architect. Most likely to get that accomplished and run through the city, and I can, maybe that might be a better place to start.
That might be more of the linchpin right there, that's.
Yeah, the
difficult.
architect can come in and take a look, and he can ballpark it at a better, not as good as the contractor can, but they
But you'll
don't
have
work
an
for
idea.
free either, but
Right.
I have a couple that I work with that I can recommend.
So should Shawn be communicating with you, Julienne, or with Brittany? How do you wanna work this? What
We'll be
works
doing
best,
it, but
both
I'll
of you?
Support, you can see
That's-
me,
yeah.
yeah, so.
And we have a couple other people too. I have a couple other people on our board that will be working with us also, so
But Julianne will be the point of
I'll
contact.
be the point of contact.
And we'll let you distribute as necessary?
Yep.
Yes.
You okay with
So
that?
you're fine with this?
Absolutely.
Into this, okay.
Whatever moves the process, I'm
I'm gonna
fine
be
with.
like totally dependent on Brittany for her knowledge, but yeah.
I think,
My heart is there.
thoughts? Are you guys,
Any other questions that you guys have?
Yeah, I'll submit this to legal, just to
Legal?
figure out if we can go forward with this.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm still interested in selling the property, so looking at getting the lease established, okay, let's
Mhm.
just take that road for a minute.
Right,
Then having, the city really has expressed interest in it. So if the city, if we can work out a deal with the city, for whatever our terms are, then the city has, you know, a leasee in there.
Right.
So it could work all.
Okay.
That's, and that's a good point, because in this process, the city might want to purchase it.
Be the owner, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Right now, they're looking at things like trades and whatnot. I don't think they have, my sense is they don't have the means right now to just write a check.
Right, an opening in their budget that happens to
Precisely.
be Roman building size,
But-
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so there's lots of stuff that the city and county can do that the county cannot do with private citizens.
Right.
And so that gives us actually a lot of leeway. That's why I'm interested in this project going forward, because I think it gives us more options that rather than just putting deed restrictions and selling it outright. But if you guys eventually want to purchase it down the road, I think we can't have that conversation right now. I think it's just too early.
It's too
Yeah.
early.
Yeah, I do too, because there's too many factors if we dump a few $100,000 into
Yeah.
a building.
There's no money for purchase for a
Right,
while.
yeah.
Well,
Mhm.
you know, maybe that enters the contract or
Or
whatever.
maybe we have a lease to own or something else, but
Yeah.
anyway,
Mhm.
all of those is information
Yeah,
that we don't have now.
and
so.
exactly, and,
yeah.
and this is where we'll check with legal, and then we can work, you know, just keep the communication open so we can
So-
figure it out.
Leslie, were you saying that there's certain things that the county can't do with the public that the city can do with the public?
No, city and county can make out trades. We don't have to do market value. There's all kinds of things that we can do.
In transactions between the two.
Yes,
entities,
between the
yeah.
two.
And the transactions between,
Yeah.
and another possibility, and this is one that I thought of, is even though, to Leslie's point, we would prefer not to be holding on to the building, if you're gonna make these renovations, and we charge you a very nominal fee, if you will, for rent, and you decide 2 or 3 years down the road that you've outgrown it, yes, we've held the building for that. Now, this is me speaking, I'm not speaking for the board, okay, and I'm not saying this is even necessarily viable, but I think it's an option, is to say, okay, look, okay, if we can't work something out with the city, and we're holding on to it, at least we're looking at added value because of the renovations that you've done. So you've gained the space, you've paid only a nominal fee for rent, and if you decide 2 or 3 years from now, that you need to vacate because you've outgrown it,
Yeah.
we've at least enjoyed the appreciation that comes from the work that you've done.
Well, and 2 and 3 years from now, maybe you want to buy it.
And maybe
so,
you wanna
Right.
buy
You
it.
know,
Yeah.
it's, yeah, I mean, I think we have lots of options right now, but the biggest hurdle is gonna get over what the city wants you to do with this building to make it, you know, occupiable.
What the
And suitable
city
for its
wants us
purpose.
to do.
Well, their codes.
They're the ones that
Yes.
have the code.
It's the city's jurisdiction, even though it's a county.
Yeah, we own the
Yeah.
building, but we have to play by their rules.
I get it.
Yeah, so it's the same thing with us. If we decided we want to move one of our departments in there, same thing. We have the
Same thing.
same
They have
guidelines
the
to go
same
by.
rule book.
Requirements,
Yes.
yes.
Yeah, same requirements, and that's why we haven't done anything with it, because those are not something we can,
You're prepared to take on right now,
it's
yeah.
not a return on investment for the county.
Yeah.
For your purposes, it
Yep.
doesn't make
Doesn't
sense for
make
an
sense.
office building, yeah, to
Yes.
invest that amount of money and only be able to house so many
Precisely.
departments and
Right,
so
Exactly.
many.
that's exactly what
Gotcha.
it comes down to.
Right, I wanna recap too, like, there's a lot of people you're saying that would like, that have their signatures on
They want to
interest
see it
with this
saved.
building.
They don't want
300
it,
people signed a
Okay.
petition.
they
I
don't
see
want it
what you're saying.
demolished.
Don't want it to be.
So they have a stake in this that they could write a $50 check, you know, times 300 is a
Right.
nice chunk of change, so.
To get started, yeah.
Yeah, so that's an option, and I am in contact with, you know, a
Zoe
couple,
or- yeah.
Zoe is, yeah,
Zoe.
she's sort of led the charge.
Yeah. Yeah,
And Jennifer
so-
will be presumably writing an article, so you're gonna get some press.
Yes,
There we go.
perfect, yes. Start rallying people who'd like to
There you
see it,
go.
you know?
And,
Yeah.
Awesome.
yeah, do we refer them, I mean, if someone's interested in coming, like, interested in renovation or anything like that, can
Yeah.
we give them a point of contact in the article?
Yeah, let's I'll set up a basic email page and that will have collect email addresses and we can at least start a list. So
Thank
that
you,
we can,
Brittany.
if we have
There you
events,
go.
if we have things going on, we'll have a way to get in contact with people.
Okay,
So-
cool.
Very good. Okay.
If somebody wants to come up to Sandpoint and to actually see it in action, can be very convincing.
Mhm.
Thank you. We should probably take you up, I think I will.
Yeah, I agree, I think it would be a
Thank you.
good thing to come, meet the mayor, meet the city, their involvement, tour the school, and we can talk a little bit more about
Wonderful.
impact.
And I'm gonna ask Julienne, because Leslie didn't. How about a harpist? Her
Oh.
daughter wants to learn the harp.
Yeah. That'd be wonderful.
I'm glad that
Yeah.
you brought that up,
Mhm.
because there are some harpists in the area. Yeah, I have 2 students that have been taking harp along with piano. So we can, they're there. See,
And
we
I've
have
seen them in the
talent.
concerts, so, yeah.
Yeah.
Better than the drums.
Yeah, exactly. I think you need a wise choice
Yes.
steering towards the harp.
No,
That-
it's her. She plays
all-
ukulele, guitar, and piano, and she will play the same song on all 3 instruments. And
That's beautiful.
that's her, but she wants the harp, and I'm like, you know, this is not Spokane, honey. You don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
I need to get you a name. This is your
Okay.
granddaughter?
My daughter.
Her daughter.
Your daughter,
Yeah.
who
Yeah.
is 12?
15.
It's
I don't know
really,
if I can, oh, sorry.
it's
Go right
it's
ahead.
really kind of astounding because we now also have an outreach program in Clark Fork.
Oh.
And they've
Oh.
been starving for something, and I think there are now 17 students in there in the school. And we also have an outreach in Priest River. They were starving too. They have a little ensemble orchestra. And that's kind of how you begin to reach into rural areas and how you kind of create that platform of culture and to get students involved. Once you create accessibility, and that's a key factor. Once you create accessibility, people will come. You have to keep the door open.
Sure. Greg, are you good with Shawn just taking this and he can keep you in the loop so it's not one more thing?
Yeah, that's fine, I just have some parking concerns and plowing concerns, things like that.
Yeah.
You know.
And we're gonna have to work that out with the city. Yeah.
Well, the parking definitely with the city, but the plowing, I think we can just have an MOU that say they plow on the weekends.
Okay.
We can do that.
Yeah, because that's not something you're gonna be able to take
You
on.
could
Right.
have them subcontract that out
Yeah.
for Saturdays and
Mhm.
Sundays so that they
Yeah.
don't have to come in
Yeah.
and do it.
Yeah.
Now, it's hard for me to even visualize the time frame on this because I was thinking fall, we'll start with school, but I think it's early. And so I don't know, who knows? Parking probably will be an issue in
Well, it
2020.
will, because right now, it's an issue for us. And so
Currently.
adding this other additional business, it's low impact, I see that, but we have to make, our employees will continually park surrounding you, because
Sure.
that's what they've done, that's
Yeah.
what they do. Now, we do have 200 spaces down there that we ask in the good weather months, that if our employees would do that. So that's a little bit that we've, have a parking policy we've asked them to do. But I'm thinking if you ask the city, hey, can we just block off, especially for maybe the handicap spaces, some on-street parking for you?
Wonderful.
We can do that. But yeah, I mean, I have to take care of our employees and our jurors and all that first to make sure that there's lots of space there. So, yeah, I mean, it's definitely a concern, but I don't think it's insurmountable at this point.
Well, and that's the reason why I suggest Hillary sooner
Yes.
than later.
And-
and we'll
Because
ta-
Hillary is gonna be the one who's going to dictate the number of parking spaces. She can at least give you some idea. You have your numbers, and that's what she's gonna wanna see. And then once she tells you, 17 spaces or whatever the case may be, then that's when you're gonna have to try to figure out.
So what probably you ought to do is, okay, so you're gonna get the information from Shawn, contact contractor. You might wanna sit down with the city one more time and share this information with them, and then from there, I think collectively, we should sit down with the city, okay?
With the city and you.
Yes, yes.
But that wouldn't be till March 4th, I don't think, unless pieces are together sooner than that.
And we can play that by ear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. All right.
Okay then?
Hey, well, thank you guys for your time.
Wow,
Really
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Thanks for your
Yeah, so,
support.
yeah.
You're very welcome.
Yeah.
Bill, you okay?
Yep.
All right then, so I have to officially ask for public comment, even though that's all I think we've done. And the time is 11:58. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.